So if you've been following this podcast over the last few weeks and months, then you should probably know by now that every week Nick and myself set ourselves a little challenge. Last week, it was a video challenge. This week, we set ourselves a photo challenge. And that means we set a subject. In this case, it was FLATLAY. And then we have to go and produce a photograph each. And in the following episode, which is this one, we have a look at those photos and we talk about them, and we're looking forward to some constructive criticism by today's guest. So Dan, have you seen our efforts this week?
I have, and they are awesome. I love them. I love FLATLAY images. These are wicked.
Excellent. Yeah, it was really good fun producing those. So Nick, do you want to tell us a little bit about your photo? By the way, I should add that if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, then those photos are available for you to have a look at on our Facebook page, and that's facebook.com/ and I've forgotten what the Facebook link was. It's facebook.com/ CameraShakePodcast. I'm sure that's what it is. Just look it up, have a look, leave us a comment, drop us a like. Very much appreciated. Anyway, so Nick, over to you. How did you come up with your photo this time?
Yeah, well, first thing to say is this is actually the first FLATLAY I've ever done. And I wanted to, there's a couple of things that went through my head to decide on the concept. And the first one was I wanted to be in it somehow, because I don't think you don't typically see FLATLAYs with people in it. So I thought, well, how am I going to go about doing that? And then I wanted the objects that I put in there to say something about me. And then there was a third aspect where I thought, well, how am I going to put these objects together? And I could only come up with one way if it was to talk about me. And that was to describe my personality a little. And that was, as you can see in my photo, extremely uniform, as many lines as possible, and on a wooden floor, which has lines to go with it. And so that's what I decided to go with.
So I just got to say, you're also dead center almost between two boards.
Yeah. That was absolutely on purpose as well. So, the objects I ended up choosing, there was probably twice as many objects as this. But these were the ones that felt like they went together a bit better than some of the other ones I had. Some were larger. So we go from sort of left to right. You got kind of the video element of it, moving across to gaming, and then you got music over the right hand side while mixing my playing bass and whatnot. Coffee's always got to be there, man. So we've got coffee in there, and then we've got the two little ducks. One's a Batman duck. I love Batman and all of those kind of things. And then the other one's actually a Darth Vader duck. Massive Star Wars fan. In fact, behind me, if he's still there, we've got a little Star Wars figure behind me. And so, and then the secondary kind of, the next kind of aspect of it is I wanted it to feel, in this instance, as natural as possible. But obviously, a lot of editing still went into this. But I wanted to keep the feel generally quite natural, as if you had just looked over me. That's kind of what I went with there. Not sure what else to describe in that. From a gear perspective, because I generally do videography, and I wanted my video camera to be in the photo, I used what I use for photography at the moment, which is just a Nikon just D7200. It's shot at, I think it's at 18 or 20 mil in the end on a Sigma art lens. And then the setup is, I was really confined. The space I was in was incredibly confined. So it was a real struggle to get it. So to the left of that photo is my front door. And that front door has some natural light coming through it. I've got, on top of the camera, I had to put my flash. So it's actually on top of the camera in this instance, with it angled. So imagine it being flat, and then the head is angled out. So it's pointing out towards the door, but just at possibly a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, you can see it in your eyes. It gives it away.
Exactly. And then also in front of the door, but just slightly off to the side, there's a reflector there. Because I tried it the other side, it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So I put the reflector there. And then on my right-hand side, there's a white door, which I've shut, which is given just enough reflection back to fill in most of the right-hand side. It's not filled in quite as much as I'd potentially like, But I was happy enough to go with what I had there, and I didn't have anything else at the time to kind of help me out. So there we go. That's my photo.
So did you shoot that with constant light or continuous light?
No, just the flash.
Oh, okay.
Just the flash.
Multiple exposures, Nick.
Sorry.
Is it multiple exposure, multiple focus points, so that you get each? No, one
shot.
One shot. Cool.
Yeah, one shot. I toyed with the idea of the. Sorry.
I wondered if you'd done any stack focusing to make sure, because the items are all so perfectly focused. I wasn't sure if you maybe had done.
No, I put the what aperture was that at the end? I was at I think 5.6, somewhere around there. I forget exactly now.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. That's
I toyed with putting the aperture wide open, but it just looked better in that way. So
I actually really like the cold to warm as well element that you've got. It's very interesting that the camera equipment is what I would call in the cold, and then you go to the warmth of the guitar head. Which I really like that. And I almost, that's really cool. That divides the two passions / jobs, and I really like that, because really what you've done is you've divided almost two careers, and then in the middle you've got your fun stuff. And I believe, is that Chinese takeaway chopsticks?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Amazing. Right. So there you go. So you literally, like, it's the fun stuff that makes you in the middle, and then these are your creative outlets on the out. I really like that. That's really cool.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you know. I wasn't going to mention it, but I'm glad you noticed the cold to warm. That was actually a happy accident. It wasn't planned, but it's just the way it worked out based on the way the lighting had to be set up, and just that low reflection coming off that white door. It's just ended up that way.
Really nice.
Yeah. I like the highlights on the black objects. It's difficult to photograph black objects, just generally, because you lose a lot of detail in the shadows, and it's black anyways. But I love the way that you've got these highlights on the camera body, and on the PlayStation remote, and on the ducks, and it really adds some really nice shape to them. You can really see the roundness of it, and that's just that. And you have a clear definition, and the outline, especially looking at the PS4 controller. Yeah, it's really nice the way that contrasts with the background as well. It's just, as
you say, you're bang on, Kirsten. Like, these aren't easy objects, especially black items. From a product photography standpoint, these are difficult. This is wicked. Right.
Yeah, it's like the Darth Vader duck's head. That helmet is just really nice, the way that falls off. And although on the right hand side it does go into the shadow drops off a little bit, but actually you get that really nice roundness of the helmet and everything. It's really well done, actually. I really like that. It's cool.
And then I guess the last thing there's two quick things I just mentioned, just from an editing perspective. There was a little bit of photoshopping that happened, just to get rid of dust. Things like that. That's all. Just once that clarity was heightened, the dust just, oh god, especially on black, and it was unbearable. So I just got rid of some of that dust, and then some just basic. It wasn't really a huge amount done in Lightroom on it. Just real general stuff. Adjusted the colors ever so slightly here and there, but not much. And then from a sort of critical perspective now, is I didn't notice it as much at the time, but I notice it now. I've seen the photo a few times. Is there a couple of objects that are just off straight, and it does aggravate me a little bit, like the NS10 in the corner.
I was trying to work out if it was barrel distortion on the top right and top left, but I think it is the Yamaha Studio isn't quite straight, is it?
So it's not. No, it's not quite straight, and that was hard enough to get that looking the way it was. It's actually, I had to raise it at the back and at the side,
right?
Because when it was flat on the ground, you can see if the lens is on the left-hand side, right? You get more of the side of the object, and that speaker looked rubbish when it was sat flat. So as I raised it to make it look more flat on with the lens, I clearly just didn't position it quite right, and that aggravates me. But there you go. You live and learn.
The reason why that stands out there, Nick, is because everything else is so perfectly straight. Like it's so minute with the PS4 controller is ever so slightly minute, and the only reason you'd know that if you knew how many holes there were for the speaker. That's the only reason why you can even pick that out. Right. The GH5 looks okay, but again, this is why I thought it was barrel distortion on the right hand side. That's because I thought, well, that's weird that it's only the top corner.
I know, man. I know. But yeah, so from a critical point of view, they're things that I would definitely change. And if
I think what I love about this photo though is that it so clearly demonstrates the difference in personality between you and me. It's just, I kind of, when I was thinking about this challenge, beforehand, I kind of thought, I bet Nick's going to do something that's like perfectly geometrical and everything's like perfectly in line. And then there's me just going, total chaos.
Kersten, that's probably a good point to transition to your photo, which couldn't be more contrasting in styles. So can you tell us a little bit about how your concept and how you came about this one? It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the main concept, well, I was looking for a concept to start with, and I wanted to go down the sort of explorer type of route, and at the same time, I was trying to put in a lot of things, a lot of objects that would, describe my personality in a way. And I just started dabbling with calligraphy, and so I've been writing a lot with ink, so that sort of became part of the photo. So these are all really objects that are either old or they mean something to me, or they part of my sort of family tradition or whatever. So all of the things you see in there somehow in one way or another relate back to me. That's essentially it. So there's the Chinese stamp, so that's a jade stamp, and the Chinese ink pot, if you want, and the stamp, so that's a kind of travel thing. The Chinese symbols they actually mean something. I have no idea what they mean, by the way, but they do actually mean something. So any of our Chinese viewers can tell me what they are. So there's the hunting knife. My granddad was a forest ranger, so that was one of the things I got as a kid. And there's on the left hand side there is my journal. This is a leather bound journal, and that's my granddad's pocket watch. And so everything that's in there, in one way, shape, or form, it's really a treasured little knickknack. I have I do create FLATLAYs now and again, and I have a big box of knickknacks, props essentially, that I'll throw in whenever I make something. By the way, the thing about the background, if you have a closer look, you'll see it's shot on a wooden board, which Nick knows very well, I think. I use that board for so many different things. For FLATLAYs, I shoot a photo series called 3 Heads in a Row on this, so it kind of acts as a table almost. And I shoot people sitting at this board. And on the right-hand side, you'll see some kind of packing paper. And that packing paper is actually the back of an Amazon parcel that I got. And it's because, we're in lockdown. So, Amazon's become my best friend. Every shopping experience I've had over the last 2.5-3 months or something has been via Amazon. So it kind of made its way.
Me and Dan set that standard when we were there, I think.
We did. I believe so.
Yeah, so that's basically how that came together. And it was just the subject matter, if you want, was kind of explorer type.
I love the Olympus pen sneaking at the bottom as well. That is that is a classic camera.
Yeah, exactly. So that's I have a little collection of classic cameras. So that's the one that.
I got to say, to me, this is straight out of the Uncharted video games. It is straight out of Indiana Jones. I can imagine. It's fantastic. I can imagine on a set they would take this photo, so they made sure it was exactly the same for the next time they shot there. Like it's literally, it's just so cool. There's so much to look at. it's funny because when I look between the two, I see a lot of similarities myself in Nick's, but I see yours as where I'd want to be. This chaotic, warm, happy to just lay it out and enjoy it, and I love it. I think it's brilliant.
So it's the interesting thing about these things is there's a lot of set dressing that goes into putting a photo together like this, because it looks chaotic, but actually every little thing, it's been moved around, shifted around. There's so many levels of set design that go into that.
I mean, obviously no disrespect to it, because to me, I can see that you have focused every element. I mean, even it's little things like, to me, my favorite, in fact, there's two things that I absolutely adore. One is the ink pot that's open. I think that is a fantastic centerpiece, and it ties off against your stamp beautifully under the magnifying glass. But that pocket watch, that is stunning, and the fact that you brought the chain back into the shot, that's so nice.
Yeah. So the thing about the shot is actually the whole shot is larger than this, and this is a crop. So you spend a lot of time with these sort of things, cropping it, because I wanted to create something that would work as a, like a Facebook banner, as well as, an Instagram crop. Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. And it's, in fact, I have it as a wallpaper on my phone. So it also works, in portrait, on the phone. So I've got a different crop for that, and the stamp in the magnifying glass, that's a composite, so that's a different shot. So because I wanted to be magnifying, and the other thing is the name, like the stamp itself is the actual stamp, but I'm sort of considering using that as a logo on my website. So I want to kind of bring that in, and I might actually stamp all of my photos with that stamp. Nice. So that's just that was a consideration. There's also the US $50 in the top. I was going to put some Canadian money in there, but because part of my family are Canadian. But I don't know if you've seen Canadian money, like the bills. Look like they're straight out of Monopoly.
It's like our new money, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So didn't really work, but it was fun putting it together. It was probably, I don't know. It took me a couple of hours to, dress the set, as it were.
I was going to ask that, how long it took. I mean, how long did yours take, Nick?
Probably all in all, a couple of hours to shoot, based on the kind of confined area I was in, and deciding what to use and getting the lighting right and whatnot.
They're so cool. It's lovely to hear the history of everything in yours as well. I love the fact you've included so many family heirlooms in there, Kersten, as well. That's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Virtually everything in there is to some degree a family heirloom, or something like that. I mean, you can, just under the Bowie knife on the very right hand side, you can see a little sliver of chrome coming through that. And that's you can see it better in the full shot, but basically that was my granddad's cigarette case back from the 1930s.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like I said, I have a box of knickknacks that I use for these sort of things, and there's a lot of stuff's in there, and it pops up in. It always depends on thematically what the theme is of a FLATLAY like that.
I'll be honest, I've never done one of these, and seeing these inspires me to give it a go, because the most I've done is a shot of my gear, like one of those bag shots which shows everything, which is nothing like this. I think I'd enjoy doing one of these. This is really cool. Like,
fun, right?
I find it's therapeutic. I think that's what I would call it. It's really good fun to make it, and of course you want to light it and get the lighting right, because it's the thing with FLATLAYs is, you really want to make them look like it's just window light. It's just stuff randomly thrown, onto the floor, and there's just happened to be a window in the right place, and and just took a shot.
Is yours a softbox or a window slightly to the left of your shot?
It's fully artificial. It's an octobox, and I use a variety of sort of white foam core plates that I place around to get the reflection right and stuff. So it's
lovely. It's a very even light. Like it's the mag light that gives it away, if anything, and the top of the Olympus pen. That's it. Otherwise, that's really, really cool.
Yeah. So the trick with those is, and this is like really just through experience, the trick is to slightly underexpose those, especially when you have shiny objects in there. You know, the zipper light is a problem. You know, the coin could be a problem, and the nips are a problem. The watch, you know, the watch face is a problem. The Mac light's a problem. So you've got these very shiny objects in there. So if you slightly underexpose, make sure you're not blowing out the highlights on those, and then you can bring a lot of it back. You know, so especially, you know, a modern full frame camera, you shoot in RAW, you've got that flexibility to bring a lot of the shadows back. So, you know, it's, watching the highlights with that is critical.
Okay, you mentioned there's obviously the composite with the magnifying glass logo there. Is the rest one shot, or is that is it multiple?
Yeah, everything else one shot. I mean, the thing about these is, that's what I find. You know, I spend a lot of time laying those out to start with, and then the actual shoot itself is really quick. I mean, once I've got it laid out, there's a couple of test shots, and I shoot them tethered, so I can see on the laptop. I can see what's coming through straight away, and then I can move things around. And I'm forever fiddling. You know, it's like I don't know, there's like a paper clip that's not in the right place. No, I mean, some of it is, like I said, some of it is sort of highly organized. The other thing, one thing I like to do is to give it another layer and another dimension by just throwing some dust on it, or in this case, some wood shavings. That really is completely random. I mean, it just goes bang, and there it is. Yeah. You know? So, I mean, so, and the more time you spent in the beginning, the less time you have to spend compositing stuff afterwards. You know, I like to spend time in getting the look right and putting some kind of textured overlays on it. There's a couple of textures on that give it that slight filmic look. But in terms of compositing things, I knew that I was gonna composite the magnifying glass, like whatever the glass itself shows. So I did a number of different shots, to get the magnification right in that. But other than that.